NBA.com. This is Jonas. Reports for the 14th of July. This is the post-market, or pre-market, if you want to call it that now, because we're in the European session at this point, all the way over here on the right. But earlier, from yesterday, we had the gap down to start today. We went further into that to check some stops. They tried to fight back, and then what you see from the shakeout, lower, and lower positive readings, and then we moved to this last version, which then from there we were all negative going forward, and that it's pretty much what we talked about from the daily standpoint when we were discussing the Nasdaq versus the S&P. Same situation where the S&P was stronger, looked better, but the Nasdaq, we knew that once selling started would be more exacerbated a loss and not be able to hold and likely dip to the 50%. But we look at it from a 50K standpoint, yeah, beautiful. Filled back all these positive extremes that were down here, and went a little further, as usually that happens, just because you're testing to see how many stops you can clear. Bitcoin suffered no shock with that, no shock with gold either. The euro wasn't able to hold its gains from the excitement because, again, now supply disruptions, because now the strait is blocked again, but not blocked. But when the Iranians were running it, you had to pay a toll. Now the U.S. is going to be collecting a bigger toll. It's an interesting one. It's a moneymaker, sure. Traffic, though, is dropped dramatically. So was it enough taken out before all this fell apart? No. The Iranians, I think, kind of knew that. They're pressuring to put Trump under the gun for the elections, and with Lindsey Graham dying and stuff like that, there's much narrower range in the Senate. I think McConnell is supposed to be coming back at some point here. Claim is that he's doing better or something, but you can see what oil prices are doing. This is going to be the inflation. This will be the ticker that hits later, and this is why gold was always so delayed, even from COVID times and everything. I mean, you can see what was happening with the money printer. Was like, why isn't gold skyrocketing? Yeah, because that's not how the dynamic works. Grow up. But here's what we were talking about from an NQ standpoint. Still negative shakeouts from all of that, and we could see that breakdown here was going to break that 76 head to the 50%, which is what it did. It supported on the 50%, luckily, but is that likely to hold? No. So if the market continues to fade a little bit, it's clear that the 50 will not hold at all for the Nasdaq. So that makes the 76% to 61% right here for the S&P critical. But these aren't great. I mean, you've got your dip below the 33, though the spread between the yellow and magenta is not that great, but you don't have a huge amount of short activity within that. So those are the benefits. The problem is that we did go from a histogram that was like literally right at zero to moving back to negative. So that could support some more systemic weakness, particularly with the war conditions and how effective the Iranians are. I mean, theoretically, it was supposedly that we were going to degrade their ability to do anything so dramatically that there wasn't going to be anything to worry about. But clearly, they're still able to bomb, attack ships, and do all the things that we were told that wasn't going to happen. So I think that poses the biggest problem for the market is, what do I believe? And there's always that climb of fear in trading to the long side of it, but when you're not even certain of what the facts are, it becomes a bigger issue. So we will just continue to follow it, and it's been pretty straightforward with the readings. I don't think there's been any objection. I mean, these are all pretty clean, so capturing everything just right. Anything relevant, though, I'll put on the team chat. Have a good one. Trade well.